Yeah,
drug
and
and
you're going to have a
dismember
hard time
children.
convincing me that an insane person's not going to go do insane things.
Right.
This is a crazy person. It takes a crazy person to go want to kill a bunch of other people. This is a crazy
And
person.
so let's talk about that because there is surprisingly little known at this point now. It's been
Yeah.
it's been over a day and a half since this attack took place, and we know surprisingly little about his motivations, his background. Um, we know that he is white. We know his name, and we know what sort of weaponry he used. We know a couple other things that I'll get into, but just by virtue of the fact that he is a white male, the thing that we are missing at this point that is against the pattern of this kind of attack is all of the thought pieces about how this is white supremacism in action.
Yeah. I googled the guy and I couldn't find anything. It's very reminiscent to me of the Pulse nightclub shooting, not just because it's a guy going and shooting a gay bar, but because directly after that happened, we couldn't find anything out about that guy either. And like,
And that was specifically
you
because
could Google whatever.
yeah, that was specifically because he was Muslim, and they
Yeah, so they didn't
couldn't.
want to mention that
The
Muslims hate
right
gays, and
the
so
rhetoric
they didn't want to bring that up.
right the rhetoric of
What's going on
revolved
with this
around
guy?
gun control. This guy, so first of all, he does have a history with the police. He was investigated a year and a half ago regarding a bomb threat that he made against his mother in her home. And he was investigated. Nothing came of that investigation. It also did not trigger any red flag laws, apparently, when he.
Well, if he wasn't prosecuted, yeah, I could see
Right.
how that would be the case. Again, I think it's going towards crazy guy doing crazy things. He's making bomb threats.
So here's where I
crazy.
sort of go off the reservation, and engage in a bit of potential conspiracy theory. And I think because we don't currently know motive, because we currently don't have any of these aforementioned thought pieces about how this is white supremacism in action, my guess is that at best, this man is a left-leaning individual, probably some sort of communist, and then at worst, he might even be homosexual himself. Again, there's definitely some speculation going on there. It's very, very possible that I am wrong completely. But if this guy was in any way tied to the right wing,
oh yeah,
it would be everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. It'd be everywhere, and it's not.
If he had a
I'm
"Make America Great Again" hat in his home, then that would be plastered on every face of every news article everywhere. But
or if he just had a red hat and was paid to go beat somebody up in the street in the middle of a polar vortex, that would be everywhere too. Sorry. I know that's a little old for today's commentary. Yes. I'm going to agree with you. It's probably somebody that is leaning towards the left. That's why we hadn't heard anything about him. If not, somebody who is gay who does have a vendetta against the trans community, because believe it or not, those people are out there. I don't know if anybody has seen Dave Chappelle's special on that, talking about the alphabets in the car, but he's absolutely right. that they're all lumped together in the LGBTQAIP tilde ... whatever community, but they really, there's a lot of strife within that community, and I could see that, and I'm going to take a prediction off of that. If that is the case, and I think you're probably right, probably a pretty high probability of that being the case. If that is the case, then this story will drop like a sack of rocks.
Oh yeah. It will.
Nobody will remember it at all.
Yeah, it'll peter out very, very quickly.
Yeah, very quick.
I'm going to continue to engage in conspiracy theory, and this one, I haven't quite convinced myself of this sort of thing yet, but there seem to be a pretty sizable number of mass shootings that have been occurring by people who typically you would not expect to own many guns in our country. And I know how Democrats use tragedy to advance political agendas. And when the demand exceeds the supply of those tragedies, I know that there are people and forces in this world who could manufacture them if necessary. Now, I'm not going to say that this is an instance of someone trying to manufacture a tragedy so that they can get political points or political tasks done. But I think as these things continue to happen, we need to sort of explore and investigate. Like I look back on the Las Vegas shooting at the country concert.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows what happened there. We know nothing about that guy that did that. We know surprisingly little about the Uvalde shooter. This is not acceptable. Yeah. And the bless. I mean, and we have to engage in these kinds of conspiracy theories because you don't tell us anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we don't know.
Yeah,
we'll probably hear more in the next week or so about this guy.
I'm gonna third rail this for a second. You know, one thing that always amazes me is to watch trends. The trends of the number of mass shootings. Oh gosh, everybody wants to make everything a mass shooting or everything a school shooting. You know, somebody goes out into a school parking lot and commits suicide. That's a terrible thing. They go, oh, that's a school shooting. No, it's not. No,
right.
No, it's not. But so it's really actually hard to look up numbers of mass shootings because anything over four people being shot at one time is a mass shooting. So, you know, they have mass shootings every weekend in large cities in that case.
Right.
Going back to the original point. The number of shootings like this under Democratic presidents always seems to supersede that of Republican presidents. I mean, it was all the time when Obama was president. Maybe a few when Trump was president, like a handful, maybe. And then there's probably been more in the 2 years that we've had Biden than there were in the 4 years under Trump. Like, you know, check the trends. That's weird.
Yeah, like and I, like I said, I engaged in a little bit of conspiracy theory. There are true mass shootings that happen for valid reasons. People are crazy. People are broken. People in today's society are incredibly broken. And some people simply do not know how to cope. And they do awful things like this. So there is always, and that's a probable thing, not just a possible thing. But I think we need to start looking at the possibility that some of these have some sort of backing. I pray it isn't true. And it very probably isn't. But yeah, if it turns out this guy is a homosexual, it would be incredibly surprising. And I would want some sort of investigation into how he got these weapons, where that sort of money would come from. You never know. It might be fine. It might be normal, but we want to stop this sort of thing, obviously. So let's do all the investigation we can.
Sure. Yeah. Investigate. See what's going on. I agree. Yeah. I agree with that sentiment.
So incredibly tragic story. But unfortunately, a not uncommon one here lately. But that is all we know currently. I'm sure more details will be coming in the next week, or it'll fall off the face of the earth and we'll know something shady happened. So